All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our 8th Pangea's Playhouse event. We are so excited to have you here this evening and joining us for a fun virtual community experience. We have so much talent coming to the virtual stage tonight, and I am very thrilled to present that to you. So for those of you that I have yet to meet, my name is Ellie Iverson, and I'm the owner and event producer behind Edgy Experiences. I am joined tonight by my team. We have Doug and Amy that will be helping in the chat and supporting this wonderful event. And I am also very excited to welcome Alfredo Peralta with Stratus Streaming, who will be helping us with some more technical logistics, because as this crazy world continues, we continue to grow and become more acquainted with different technical abilities. And so we are very excited to have that additional support for our performances tonight. So another special thing about tonight is that I have my good friend and talented performer, Deborah Bertling, co-hosting with me this evening. So I'll bring Debbie on just briefly to say hello, and then we'll get into that in a second. But thanks for joining, Debbie.
Hi, everybody.
So we'll bring Deborah back on in a second, but before we do that, I just wanted to go through some housekeeping. A lot of you who have been to a Pangea's before know this, or if you've just been in the Zoom world in general, you probably know this, but Zoom, the application we're using to host this event, is not necessarily meant for theatrical performances, but it has a lot of wonderful qualities that make it accessible and community focused, so that we can see that we're not alone, that we're not watching something by ourselves, but rather we're experiencing this virtual performance together as a group. So that being said, there may be some hiccups, as I'm sure you've seen over and over again, but we appreciate your understanding and your flexibility as we navigate this crazy, still new digital world. So during most of the performances, we will ask that you keep your mics muted. That will change for one performance, and we'll explain that as we get to it. But we want to give our full attention to our performers. We do encourage you to share your video screen to be included in the visual audience, and to use your speaker view. So that's the button in the top right corner, so you can see who's speaking instead of in the gallery view where you see everybody together. We'll use that too, but for now, we definitely recommend you use the speaker view. If you would like to share any comments with the community, we certainly encourage you to do that using the chat box feature, so you can type your compliments, and I'll kick things off with that. We've got Amy commenting in there, but if you want to share where you're tuning in from tonight, we would really love to see where our audience is joining us from. So use the chat box and go ahead and put in where you're joining us from, so we know just kind of who you are and where you're coming from. So I see we've got, definitely have the Santa Barbara region being represented. I see someone's tuning in from New York,
Wow.
Wyoming, Kansas,
Cool.
Boston, Bay Area. So this is definitely a national, if not global experience. So I'm so glad that you're all here. Okay, so my final comment is, if this style of viewing isn't working for you for any reason at all, that's perfectly fine. We will be sending a follow-up email this weekend, which will connect you with all of our artists and also have a recording of the show. So you can watch it or watch it again or watch it again and again and again and share it with your friends and family. We would love that. Wonderful. Okay, so I think that's wrapped up kind of the start of my housekeeping. And so without further ado, I would love to bring my co-host, Deborah Bertling, onto the stage. This Hershey, Pennsylvania native has appeared on many stages throughout Central and Southern California in operas, plays, concerts, and stage readings. She is also the president of Performing Arts Scholarship Foundation, as well as board president for the CAMA Women's Board and vice chair of the CAMA Board of Directors. So incredibly talented and incredibly busy lady that we are so happy to have join us tonight. So thank you, Deborah, for coming on and helping me with this.
Such a fun idea, Ellie.
Well,
I'm glad you asked me.
We're glad you're here. So I'm going to hand it off to you. I'll be popping in throughout the show, but hope everyone has a beverage in hand and is ready to enjoy some great performances.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, darling, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Thanks for joining us tonight. If variety is the spice of life, you are in for a well-seasoned evening. We have from Northern California, Azeem Ward. We have from Cleveland, Ohio, Renovare. We have Dr. Kacey Link. We have Deborah Cristobal, Carol Metcalf, and the Santa Barbara Piano Boys. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. And snap along. Fill my life with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I worship, all I long for and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. All right, everybody, I'm going to get started with I got to pause this thing. Yes. Okay. Technology. Yay. Not my strong suit, but I've learned a lot in the last year. I am so thrilled to have all of these guests with me tonight. It was a pleasure putting this show together. My only regret is I have so many really talented friends that I can't cram them all into one show. But I have some fabulous talent for you. And I want to start with a charming string group from the Cleveland, Ohio area. They're known as Renovare, and they were started by Rebecca Shasberger. And she will be playing with Lalia Mangione. Now, these are both Westmont grads. Westmont is here in Santa Barbara for those of you who are around the country. And they have also been PASF scholarship winners in the past. That's how I know them. And I've always admired these two young ladies because they have, they're so grounded. They know what they're doing and where they're headed. And since going to graduate school after going to Westmont, Rebecca landed on the East Coast and she's been teaching, doing concerts. She has been leading a worship team for her church. And now she's doing all of that on Zoom, which is amazing. And she's going to talk more after we have the, or no, actually we're going to have her talk a little bit before the video. She started a 501(c)(3) 2 years ago, and I want her to talk a little bit more about that. Rebecca?
Thanks so much for having me, Deborah. It's really fun to be here with everyone tonight. Yeah, I started Renovare a couple years ago. In all of my training and getting to play music in fancy concert halls and with amazing musicians, I kept wondering where other people had a chance to access this kind of beauty, this kind of music, who maybe can't afford a concert ticket or maybe can't access the hall. And both thinking of those people and then trying to bridge the divide that there sometimes seems to be in our communities between people who have exposure and who don't, or who have the finances or those who don't. All of those things led me to start Renovare, both in the hopes of bringing music to people maybe in a homeless shelter or a prison or places who can't come to a concert hall, but then also for some of us who maybe have never experienced life from that perspective to be able to hear some of those stories through a concert experience. So it's been a journey, but it's been fun.
That is amazing. Thank you, Rebecca. I love what you're doing and the work that you're doing, and I think it's very important. And anyone who's interested in knowing more about Renovare, it's spelled Renovare, and you can find them online. And they are a 501(c)(3). And tonight, you and Lalia are going to be playing 3 short pieces by Bach, but you've kind of reimagined them, so to speak. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. Like Deborah said, they're all by Bach, but they're all a little different than maybe Bach had imagined them. The first 2 were originally written for piano, or more likely harpsichord, and this evening Lalia is the right hand and I am the left hand of the piano. And then the third piece is originally just for cello. It's the prelude from Bach's 3rd suite for solo cello, but a contemporary American violinist named Hirono Border wrote this beautiful accompaniment part for the violin to play on top. So she's making Bach's solo cello piece a duet for violin and cello. So it's 2 inventions, and then the solo turned duo from the 3rd cello suite.
Great. Well, we are going to enjoy your video and we can get that started right now.
Terrific.
Beautiful. That was just so beautiful. That kind of music just transports me. I don't know about you, but Rebecca and Lalia, thank you so much for that. It was gorgeous. And yes, if you're clapping, you can also use that little reaction things. I think there's clapping in there, but I know there's a heart and there's a thumbs up and there's like fun stuff you can do in there to let people know you're enjoying the show. It's different, you know, doing these things online. So much of live performance is breathing together and feeling the music and whatever's happening together, but it's also that collective and, you know, expressing your enjoyment, the applause at the end. So we don't get all of that online, unfortunately, but thank you very much. And we're going to move on now to our next guest. This lady, I am very proud to know, we've worked together on many stages. She's been an accompanist for me. We've worked together for Out of the Box Theater Company. She's been music director several times for shows that I've been involved with. She's a piano teacher. She performs in the community. She is a vocal coach at Ventura College. She is music director, like I said, for Out of the Box. She also wrote a book on Argentine tango, and I'm going to let her talk a little about that. But Dr. Kacey Link is here, and she is honoring International Women's Day, which just happened on the 8th, and she's also honoring Women's History Month by playing something from Amy Beach. Amy Beach is a composer who lived 1867 to 1944, and she was one of the first American female composers to make a living as a composer. She was a brilliant pianist, and I would love Kacey to talk a little more about her as well.
Hi, Debbie, thank you. So Amy Beach, she was something really special. She was a prodigy, but when she got married at age 18, she had to stop concertizing because she had to conform to societal norms and stay home and be a traditional wife at that time. So she studied composition on her own. And then her husband died in 1910, and she said, oh, I'm going to start composing again and performing. So she went to Europe, and she concertized there. And then she came back to the U.S. and started performing and composing. And she became a real advocate for women in music and women composers. And she formed the Society of American Women Composers in 1924. And like you said, she was one of the first female composers to make a living as a composer. So she's pretty special. And the piece that I'm going to play, or that you'll see, is the Dreams of Colombines, Le Rêve de Colombine. And there's two movements of that. There's the Valse Amoureuse and Sous les Étoiles, Under the Stars. So I hope you enjoy that.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. Oh, that was great. You know, when I first watched this video, because I watched them a couple days ago, I kept thinking, when is she going to turn the page? And I realized you have your iPad up there with the music on it. And I know that it's like, I understand the concept. And I know that there are people who use that, but gosh, it just sort of went, she hasn't turned the page for, oh, that's right. So modern technology can be wonderful. Have you ever had the iPad freeze up on you, Kacey?
I wouldn't say it's frozen, but I have failed at using my foot pedal to turn the page many times. I think you might have witnessed when we did our Pianos on State Street thing.
You know what? I wasn't paying attention. You were behind me and I did not see that. Didn't see it. Didn't happen. Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you. And did you get all the little notes about your book? People want to know about it.
I'm trying to chat in the chat box.
Oh, good, good. All right, because they want you to write down the title. That would be fabulous. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to one of my best buddies. She's a sometime walking buddy. She's my karaoke buddy, which we miss a lot. We haven't been to James Joyce to karaoke for a year, which is a long time. She's also an actress. She is a writer. I first met her in an acting class, actually, back in 2007. Might have been 2006. That's how long we go back. She is a comedian extraordinaire, which you will see in a moment. She's also a producer. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist. She's a professor at Antioch University. She works with veterans for a variety of things, PTSD, seniors at the Friendship Center. She's in and about the community in so many ways. And I really want you to welcome Carol Metcalf. And for this particular segment, you can unmute yourself so that you can actually laugh out loud and join in the fun, because a comedian's lifeblood is the laughs from the house.
Yes.
Take it away, Carol.
All right, yay! No. Thank you for having me tonight. I am thrilled. And Kacey, you were absolutely fabulous. The way you played your piano was gorgeous. I took piano lessons when I was in Texas as a little girl. And the teacher says, you know what, Carolyn, I think maybe you should just take up typing. Thank you. That's a true story. Completely tone deaf, okay? And Deborah, I'm going to tag on to what you said. Well, to begin with, you're absolutely adorable. You're the prototype of a perfect friend. You're beautiful, you're funny, you put up with me, we go hiking, okay? And you go to karaoke. Woohoo! I miss it.
Yeah.
I would always like to go in there with Deborah with that gorgeous voice. I beat you the moon, I want to take you to the stars. And then I would go up, and I always have to do Southern R&B, Mustang Sally. But then there would be the non-singers.
Oh.
One of our favorites. I want to dance with somebody. I want to feel heat. I love somebody. Somebody that love me. Then he'd be smiling for himself. Everyone would start kind of going and going, have a drink. That's right. I am a professor, yes. Antioch University. And everybody's on social media right now. It's totally different, right?
It is.
And now that we have to do virtual, that's a whole new ball game right there. Okay. And I will try to have my group of graduate students. Okay, graduate students, and I'll talk with them. So, okay, well, we started on our thesis of healthy aging and how the hippocampus changes with age. And I literally did have one of my students say, Professor Metcalf, I left my assignment at home. Or at home, okay? That's absolutely true. I can't make this stuff up. I really can't. And, you know, I'm also, yes, I am a therapist. And I have to say that, but I'm also very much who's an extrovert. So now I'm becoming a dissociative personality disorder because I tell myself jokes. I dance with myself around the room. I'm originally from Texas. Can you tell? Thank you. Thank you very much. And the goal in Texas when I was growing up was not to go to graduate school. It was to be in the Miss Texas pageant. That's true. And I remember I had one girl that I watched, and she got up and says, "Hi, my name is Sarah Jane Eustace. I go to Southern Methodist University, where I'm a communications major." Most important thing, people to me, is the Lord Jesus Christ and Mary Kay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I love that you picked Fly Me to the Moon, Deborah. Bernie was in the kitchen. I want to come in and tell him I'm a rocket scientist. It really is true. Elizabeth, I see everyone sitting in the audience. I really did marry the only rocket scientist that I could find on a free dating service, Plenty of Fish. Deborah can back me up, right?
Yes.
I called her 10 years ago and said, I met a guy who said he's a rocket scientist. And she said, Google him. I did. So, you know, we were sitting on our first date, and when he walked up, you know, he had the glasses, and he told some of the corniest jokes I've ever heard in my entire life, but I still loved him. He kept telling him the same joke. I'm the guy that goes to the party, you know, and I walk by and I hear someone say, you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that. Hi, my name is Dr. Bernard Roth. How many restaurants we had to leave, okay? But yes, I've been happily married. Give me a round of applause for 10 years. And I am a licensed marriage family therapist, so I better be, right? I am saying that I am getting a little bit tired of the pandemic. How many can give me a round of applause for that? Yes. And thank you for allowing me to dress up in a glitter dress. I will have to admit that I wear it already around the neighborhood just I also do fashion shows up and down the cul-de-sac in front of our condo. I did, I don't know, have kind of a strange experience when some shady looking guy in a truck, and I was walking back and forth and getting the mail, and he said, how much?
Oh my.
Oh no.
And I said, you don't have enough, okay? Oh, yeah, you know, these are crazy times. And I'm getting to know everyone around us. We live in a really beautiful condo, but our neighbors upstairs we can hear, okay? So I know now that my neighbor gets up at 6:59 every morning. He runs the shower and sings. He sings in the shower, and he's Chinese. So I hear, And then he and his wife have cocktails. They have their cocktail hour every day at 6. And I hear them talking and everything's great. And then suddenly around 10 o'clock at night, the door slams. Oh, really? So it's that time that we are too close together. We know everything that is going on. I don't know. Like I said, I'm originally from Texas. And I had the funniest Texas granny there was, Elma Mae O'Honey. And she dipped snuff. And she would tell me jokes, and we'd go to the Pentecostal church and sing. And every night I'd have to talk her in, and she'd always say the same thing. She'd say, you know what, little darling? You know how you know when you're getting you're old? You and your teeth no longer sleep together. And she'd take her dentures. Oh, and I've got to say too that I'm half Irish. We've got St. Patrick's Day coming up. That's all we need is another reason to drink. And it was funny because this is true. And I also had Uncle Bud. And Uncle Bud, you know, he would always tease his 3 older sisters because they were very religious and went to Pentecostal church and they didn't drink. So he'd always say the same thing when I would be there as a little girl for St. Patrick's Day. And he'd say, you know what? My 3 sisters think I'm an alcoholic. I drink to that. My Aunt Dolly Mae, though, was a little shady because she had a wonderful voice, and she used to sing in church. And then on St. Patrick's Day, after my Uncle Bud would sit down, and she would get up and quit making fun of us. All right? You need to find the Lord. Jesus, oh Jesus, do you know him today? Then she pass out. Okay, cheers. Dichotomy going on there. Well, I live in Montecito, and all my Montecito friends are going to be mad at me. But I am going to say this. Montecito is glamorous. Montecito is you have to always look young. It is the Botox capital of the United States of America. It really is. And I do have a wonderful girlfriend that she's a sweetheart, but she always looks like she's excited. I'm just really excited. I want to invite you to my Botox birthday party. It's October 6th of 2003. But no, this is a true story. I thought, well, why not? So she invited me to her Botox birthday party, and she had one virally this year too. That was really frightening. But so we take the mask off, and so we all had our little kits that she had sent to us. It was so sweet. So we could shoot up. And so she said, all right, everybody, let's do it. So,
oh gosh.
Okay, I'm not really good at doing stuff like that. So halfway through, does this look even over here? Look at those times. You gotta get a little bit over on the side, so. I look like the Joker. The most frightening is when we all had to sing happy birthday to her at the end. So after being shot up for half an hour, it's like, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Gladys. Happy birthday to you. Blowing the candles out and we had our own individual cakes. Like a bunch of Komodo dragons in heat. It was really frightening. That's all I can say. I mean, private. I'm going to end this on. Used to be a flight attendant, and this is true because of the pandemic. There's been such a downturn in the business for all the different companies like Continental, you know, you name it. They're all going. So and this is true. I read an article the other day that they were saying that they were going to legalize it and you could smoke marijuana on the flight. So this is my impression of the flight attendant on Up in Smoke Airlines. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Up in Smoke Airlines. I'm your flight attendant, Gladys. I want to welcome you all and do some of our routine that we'll be doing. Makes you run out of a smoke. A joint will fall down in front of you. Don't worry if it's too smoky for me to see you. I can hear you. Just cough. Thank you for flying with us tonight Up in Smoke Airlines. And remember, we really burn our butts for you. Thank you. Thank you guys. That was my staff tonight.
Yay! Carol, don't go anywhere. I wanted to just talk to you for a minute.
Here's my drink, damn it.
Okay. Yes, well, there you go. Thank you for that hilarious look at life during the pandemic and other times of our lives. And I always enjoy the memories of your granny. Yeah. They are very, very cute. You do so many things, and I just want to give you a chance to talk about the one thing that you do that you find the most gratifying or the most fulfilling. If you can shed a little light on that.
Well, on a serious note, working with my veterans. I will share this with you. My father was in the United States Air Force for 29 years. He helped break the sound barrier with Chuck Yeager, and he had a high school education from Cedar Vale, Kansas. True. And I honored him because he put his life on the line through 3 wars. Now, I'm saying this because he was always there for us. And so I have very proudly volunteered for almost 10 years with the veterans that I work with at the Friendship Center. And I'm saying that out there to everyone if you want to contribute to the Friendship Center in Montecito.
It's a great organization.
They're funny, they are sweet, and everyone, we need to honor them because now they're aging. And I work with guys that have worked all the way from Iraq back to World War II. The funniest vet that I have, who sings every time I come in to see him, he always said, "Gonna take you on a sentimental journey, gonna fly away with you." And you know how old he is? He's 97 years old. But what a sweetheart. I also really am honored to work with kids on the spectrum. I'm honored to be a therapist in general, because we all need to have somebody who's there, non-biased, and will listen to us and not judge us, but try to help us. I do want to say this, that I love my granny very much. And she would say every night before she went to bed, she'd say, I love you, Carol Ann, and you can do anything that you want.
Oh,
How
that's sweet.
Yes. So yes, I do honor that. And I also honor all of my students at Antioch University. They were becoming therapists themselves. And I know this sounds kind of corny, but every day is a new day. It's a new opportunity to love everyone else around you and try to be fair and loving and support them.
Very good. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carol, so much. By the way, I could hear Peter Bertling down the hallway laughing, and I have the door closed back here and his door's closed down there. He's trying to keep our dog quiet through the show, and he's doing a pretty good job so far.
Well,
So,
I love Peter Bertling and I love Zeus.
Before we go to intermission, and I know Ellie has a few comments to make about that, I just want to thank our sponsors for tonight, the people who have paid a little extra for the tickets to kind of help defray the costs of doing these things. And I especially want to mention Marilyn Gilbert, because it was her birthday yesterday. So happy birthday to you, Marilyn. And now, Ellie, you're going to take us into our little, very short intermission and tell us what we're supposed to do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Deborah. And how exciting is it to have another hostess that is so good at what she does and can sing as well as host, which is not something that I can do. So I really appreciate that. So as per Pangea's tradition, we do like to take a little bit of time, because this is a bit interactive and we are watching this all together, to go ahead and go into gallery view. So I will recommend that you do that in a little bit. Put on your video if you feel comfortable with this. This won't be for the rest of the show. It's just for a short period of time. And I would love for everyone to say hello to the other people that are here with us. It's very loud, very chaotic. It's fun to see who's the loudest out of everyone. So if you see someone across the gallery that you want to say hello to, I would encourage it. We'll do this for just a few seconds so that we can see everyone together. So I'm going to go into gallery view, and then I'm going to unmute everyone. So let's see if we can do that. If you can put your video on, that would be great. It's just for a short period of time so we can say hello. And here we go.
Hello. Audra. Hi, Michael. Oh my gosh, Julie and Dave, I'm so glad you're here.
Hello.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Linda. Hi, Nancy.
Oh, that's amazing.
Hi, Pete Bertling. You're not turning your video on. I can tell.
Okay, so that was a fun little moment. And just as a reminder, we will do this again at the end of the show so that we can applaud all of our incredible performers together. So definitely stick around for that if you can. And in the meantime, we're just going to take a little intermission break, because this is a, it's a decent length of a show, and we recognize that it's a long time to be on a screen. So we'll have some slides running if you want to hop up, refresh yourself, help yourself to your home concession stand, whatever that looks like. Refresh your dress, tip the bar or your drink, tip the bartender, whatever it is that you need to do. And we'll be back in about 3 minutes to go to the second half of our show, which has even more incredible performers. So we hope you enjoy that, and we will see you soon. So very brief break, but we definitely want to get through all of our performers and make sure that we have your attention. So hopefully you've been able to get a drink and you're relaxing and ready to enjoy the second half of the show. Just before we launch into the second half, I did want to make a few comments. One, ditto to everything Deborah said about our sponsors. They definitely make this something that is feasible for us. And as we're on our 8th show, we've learned so much and we are growing and growing, and it's really exciting. And I just really, really appreciate that support. We're also doing a lot of other community events, as well as working with clients to run fundraisers and business meetings and all of the big event logistics that happen in this new strange virtual world. So the two things I wanted to tell you about is we do have our next Pangea's Playhouse set for April 9th with a whole new cast of artists, which is very exciting. And we are also running an in-person Wake and Shake event here in Santa Barbara at the end of April, which is a social distance silent disco exercise class. So it's on the beach. You can go as far as you want away from each other, and we have a live DJ playing music into headsets that you're wearing, as well as an exercise instructor that's helping you with stretches along the way. So it's a really fun way of doing something in person that really takes safety and security into mind while letting you dance and listen to live music in a beautiful environment. So we'll be sharing information about those events as we send out the recap email, but definitely stay tuned if you enjoy this, and we would love to see you at any of those future events. So thank you again, and I'm going to hand it back to Deborah to introduce our next performer.
All right. I am so pleased to introduce Azeem Ward. I first met Azeem in 2013. I can't believe it's been that long, but he waltzed into Performing Arts Scholarship Foundation and auditioned for us and knocked our socks off. So we put him in the competition. We have an annual competition that helps young musicians from Santa Barbara County. And sure enough, he won first prize right out of the gate. And by the way, Azeem, I looked up what your competition piece was, and it was the Grand Fantasy by Paul Taffanel. That's what you won with. He's also a music teacher. He's working up in Northern California right now, teaching young performers flute, and he also plays other instruments. And he is a solo performer. He collaborates with other artists, and he has a worship band as well as another, I'm not sure if you'd call it a rock band. Maybe he can elaborate on that after the video, but we'll chat a little bit with Azeem after his video. But I'm just very pleased to have him with us tonight.
Hello everyone, my name is Azeem, and I am incredibly grateful to be here at the Pangea's Playhouse, my first one. I play the flute, but I also beatbox at the same time. My first piece today that I'm going to play is a throwback to the 1800s, Rachmaninoff. It is the Prelude in C# minor, and it's going to sound a little different, right? A little remixed, but you'll sort of hear the melody played throughout. So, here we go. All right, guys. So that was that Rachmaninoff. And now for the next piece, which is my last one. It's a piece that I actually wrote, and it's called Zeyn for flute beatbox. And it's a piece that has been sort of inspired by faith. Faith in God, of course. And so I hope that you enjoy it. And thank you so much for having me here on Pangea's Playhouse.
Wow. Okay. Azeem. Where are you? There you are. Okay. I have to say, I am so uncool. Okay. I thought beatbox was actually an instrument, right? So when you were talking about you were going to do this beatbox thing, I had to look it up. And then I realized that there is no, like, you're not playing something with your foot like a snare drum or anything else. You do all this stuff with your mouth.
That's correct.
And you're playing the flute at the same time, which blows my mind because when I was a music major, I started out as music education, and then I had to take strings and brass. And by the time I got to woodwinds, I was like, no, I'm just singing. Thank you very much. So I switched my major to straight voice. But I have an appreciation for what you're doing. And I think it is amazing. It's just amazing. And I want to ask you a couple of questions. Okay. You can tell me a little more about beatboxing so that I'm schooled. But when you won PASF, were you?
Yeah, we also
junior
have a
or
trolls tutor
sophomore?
next to our.
Or
I believe I was a sophomore, yeah.
okay. And that's really, usually it's an upperclassman who wins. So that in itself was amazing. I thought you were a younger student at the time. I just couldn't remember because that's 2013. I can barely remember what happened last week, let alone 2013. But you are the only person I know whose senior recital made it to Jimmy Kimmel Live. And that is a really cool story. You somehow, tell us a little bit about that, because all I know is Jimmy Kimmel was on talking about Azeem Ward and everyone should come to his senior recital at UCSB.
Right. So quite a story, actually. But about a week before my recital event, my senior recital for flute at UCSB, I had posted the Facebook event. And, you know, I believe as a joke, there was a kid in Durham, United Kingdom, who decided to pick it up and say, hey, mates, let's all go to Azeem's flute recital. Right. And, you know, everyone thought it was like, why not? So they, you know, a lot of people in that area started to pick up on the bandwagon. And then there was a lot of memes of me becoming creative. So I became like a meme. And, you know, the day before my recital, we were in rehearsal at UCSB, chamber music rehearsal. I remember Jill Felber, my flute professor, walks in and says, Jimmy Kimmel's producer's on the phone. You got to come to the office now. Right. And I was like, everyone's like, oh my God, you know, and then, you know, within a matter of 5 hours, they live streamed me into the show. So it all happened within a matter of 7 hours of me knowing that I was going to be on the show. I was on the show that day and it was done. And so it was just like, and then because of that, that kind of like boosted the whole recital event in terms of popularity. And we had an opportunity to fundraise $8,000 for charity.
Wow.
In that moment. The Nepal earthquake had just happened at that time. So a fan reached out and said, why don't you like use this for a good purpose? Not my idea, to be honest. And I was like, you're right. So we fundraised $8,000 to give to Nepal because of that event. Yeah.
That is incredible. How many Brits actually showed up to your recital? Any of them?
Right. So we had this live stream going on. It's called Twitch, which is often used for gaming, but we used it for the recital. And there was 55,600 people logged in.
Oh my goodness.
The live stream. And there were people from not just the UK, but like in Europe, and there was some from Brazil, and it was
wow. Well, I've always thought you a rock star personally, but keep doing what you're doing. You're just such a charming young man, and I am so thrilled that you've stayed in touch with me, and you don't think, oh, she's just this old lady that runs PASF. So thank you for being my friend. And I'm really glad you were here tonight. And we're going to move on now to our next guest. And this is Deborah Cristobal. I also met Deborah at the same acting class where I met Carol. So that's how long we have all been friends. And Deb and I are sometimes together, you know, doing things, karaoke maybe, or shopping or having lunch. And we refer to ourselves when we're together as Deb Squared. That's our nickname for ourselves because we're both Debs. And we enjoy being together. And she's not only an actor, but she's also a fashion designer. She likes to take things, you know, like discarded things. She can buy off of the rack at like the thrift store and turn things into these amazing pieces of art. And she wears her own creations a lot. And she's a writer, and she actually wrote this personal story called Happy Sad New Year, which was featured on the Speaking of Stories, which we have here at Center Stage Theater off and on. Actually, they've gone viral now too, like everyone else. So this story was featured on one of those shows, and I've asked her to share it with us tonight.
Okay, thanks, Deb. So this is Happy Sad New Year. Every year after the holidays, my family would go to the Japanese American Citizens League, or JACL. It's their New Year's potluck at the Pismo Beach Vets Hall. JACL is the oldest and largest Asian American civil rights organization. I'm proud to say my grandpa, Walter Tsukamoto, was one of the founding members. The Vets Hall sits on a hill overlooking the city, and there is a wonderful view from there. It always amazed me to see so many Japanese people in one place. They came from neighboring towns, Los Osos, San Luis, and Arroyo Grande. When I was in high school, in my hometown, Morro Bay, besides my younger sister, there was only one other Japanese kid, and he was a 7th grader. I sure as heck wasn't hanging out with him. The other couple of Japanese students we had were older, and they had only been there when I was in junior high. It was fun seeing all the men gathered outside doing the barbecuing, and all the ladies in the kitchen putting on the finishing touches on the food. And after dinner, they would always show a Japanese film on a projector. It was usually black and white, but sometimes they were in color. They were always subtitled, and they never had happy endings. A lot of the times, the actors would go crazy or commit suicide, and this used to disturb me to no end. I remember one film where the lead female character went insane, and she was chopping things up, including herself, and there was a lot of blood, and of course, that one was in color. Like most of America, I was raised on Disney. I remember watching The Wonderful World of Disney and seeing almost every Disney kids film that came out when I was growing up. Back in the day, movies made great babysitters, and I loved seeing them all at the one theater that our town had. Of course, the ones with the princes, princesses, and castles were my favorites. I was used to happy endings, and it was comforting to know that you could always depend on things working out in my childhood films. In the summer, after my high school sophomore year, I was a teacher's aide for some Japanese students from Japan. It was a great adventure as I lived at Tropicana Village in San Luis, and that's where the college kids stayed, and it was without my family. The teachers were our chaperones. The visiting students were really sweet, and even though they were close to my age, they seemed vastly different from me and my friends. They were very innocent and much more inclusive in their social groups, unlike their American counterparts. I remember going through the cafeteria line at breakfast before class, and one of the workers remarked that I spoke good English. I was shocked. Could he really be mistaking me for a Japanese person from Japan? Ironically, I did not feel like I was a very Japanesey person. My favorite food is Italian. And I prided myself on my Americanness, cool clothes that I made, and great California suntan. And even though I'm full Japanese, fourth generation or Yonsei, I could not relate to Japanese people from Japan. They seemed almost like foreigners to me, with their pale skin, tiny figures, and more preppy way of dressing. And this is probably because I did not have any close relatives who were not already Americanized. Even my grandma was pretty hip, and she was definitely not your typical little old lady in a kimono whipping up sushi. I couldn't understand why all these Japanese films were so depressing and why they kept on showing them to us year after year. Now that I've grown up, I can definitely see the beauty in celebrating the sadness that sometimes comes in life. I can even embrace it. Ironically, when I'm acting, I love doing sad scenes and even crying, which is the total opposite of my real self. As the oldest child with no brothers, I was taught to maintain my cool and not be a baby, and that crying in front of someone was just not acceptable. Even though I'm a very girly girl, I was voted most feminine in my high school, I sometimes feel like emotionally, I was almost raised as a boy. I'm sure if I would have had a brother, that he would have had even harder emotional rules to follow. And maybe that's why I enjoy acting so much. It gives me permission to express myself freely through my characters. Performing sad scenes is enjoyable for me as I can feel the emotions as my character. And I'm also able to yell and have a fit without having the repercussions of disapproval from anyone close to me. One of my favorite films of all time is the Japanese movie 1,778 Stories of Me and My Wife. And I just learned that that is based on a true story. It is charming, funny, and extremely sad. It shows a loving husband's devotion to his wife by writing her a funny story every day to make her laugh. And this is in the hope that the laughter might cure her terminal illness. I saw this film at the Santa Barbara Film Festival in the small theater that's inside of the Museum of Art downtown. And when the really sad part came, I could hear everyone in the audience sobbing. And that's including the gentleman who was sitting next to me. I've never, in all my life, ever, and with all the films I've seen, ever experienced anything like it. I had cried so much that my whole face of makeup had come off, and I had to run home and put on another face so I could be presentable again. It was really wonderful to share such an emotional experience with a whole room full of avid film goers like myself. Now that I'm older, I find that I can relate more to Japanese people from Japan, and I'm very proud to be Asian. I have a few Asian friends, some are here in the audience, And I'm on a really fun Asian history committee. Our chair is in the audience. And this is through the Santa Barbara Trust for Historic Preservation. And looking at photos of myself from high school, I see the young, small town girl who I was, and thinking back on those past New Year's gatherings, it's always with very fond memories. I realize how the richness of life experience has changed and mellowed some of my earlier views. And as a result, I can now appreciate and enjoy Japanese films with sad endings.
Thank you, Deb. I have to put my little clapping hands up here on my, oh, I have heard that story before, but you know, it's been a while since I heard it, and I had forgotten some of it.
Yeah.
What a great story. You know, it is interesting how we get older and we appreciate things that we really hated when we were younger. It's an interesting part of life. No, it really is. I guess, you know, that's why your parents always say, wait till you get older. And it's true. Wait till you get older.
Oh, yeah.
But you mentioned that you were part of the Asian History Committee for the Santa Barbara Trust for Historic Preservation. Mm-hmm. And you've been doing that for 11 years. And you're also involved in the Asian American Film Series. And now that is in its 12th year, which I didn't realize it had been around that long.
Yes, it's been around for quite some time, and it is so much fun to be a part of. We started out with 3 films, and we now do 4 usually, and it's just a blast. We highlight an all Asian cast or a mostly Asian cast, and it's not just limited to, say, Chinese or Japanese. We've done Korean, Filipino, and you know, our committee screens dozens of films to find, you know, the right one to share with our audience. And it is so much fun, especially since I'm such a film geek and I can never watch too many movies, as you know. And it's so much fun. And we get into some very, I don't want to say heated, but let's say very animated discussions as far as what films we're going to choose, because we want to educate the public on Asian American culture, and so it's really fun. It's gotten to be a really big deal, and sometimes we've had to turn people away because they know it's coming, and so they're waiting for it to happen. And it's the 4 Fridays in July. And it's just a blast. We have food. We have.
I know.
Yeah, you came.
It is fun.
Yeah, you came.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's a blast. We always have a great time, and then we also do an Asian neighborhood festival in October, usually the second weekend, like a Sunday, and that's kind of like, I explain it to people as like a little mini Asian fiesta. So it's.
That's a good description of it.
It's got dancing, it's got vendors, it's for, if you've got kids, it's got face painting. There's obon dancing and taiko drumming and hula. My teacher Angelita and the Hula Anyone girls come out, so we always bring the crowd out to come dance obon with us or do hula. And obon is Japanese dancing that celebrates your departed relatives. It's kind of in the summertime. They usually have that festival. Everybody dances in a circle, and it's beautiful movements. It's a lot of fun. And so they'll usually teach the audience how to do some of the, like the famous coal miners dance. You might have heard that. You might recognize the music. It's pretty famous.
Okay. Well, yeah. That is very cool, Deb. I think it's wonderful that you've embraced your Asian American heritage, and you're doing all you can to make that heritage more a part of the community. And so thanks for that.
Yeah,
it's been great having you on here.
Thanks, Deb. It was fun.
And I'm going to introduce our final guests. I first heard about the Santa Barbara Piano Boys, just word of mouth. There were people sending me, have you heard about these kids? You know, they're great, they're great. And these boys are still in high school. And I saw them perform and was just totally enchanted. And now since then, I've seen them perform many times, even online, because now they have to do things virtually as well. They're brothers. They have actually performed all around the world. There is a lot more about them, and I'm going to bring that up in our little interview after the video. But we have a video of Zeyn playing one of his compositions, and I'm going to ask Zeyn to just introduce the piece. Because it's yours, Zeyn, I'd love for you to say something about it before it goes.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, I just want to thank everyone so much for joining, and special thanks to you, Miss Bertling and Miss Iverson, for having us.
Yeah, so we're really honored to be here and with all of these really talented artists.
Yeah, so we'll be playing my own composition. I greatly enjoy composition, and I often find myself improvising so many times between practicing harder repertoire and pieces and for school. And as you'll hear, a lot of the tunes from this composition were influenced by European street music, the whole Mediterranean region, and specifically the southern region of Spain called Andalusia. And for that reason, I decided to name it Recordi Andalusi, which means Andalusian memories. Also, we may have been influenced by the world music we were exposed to through the UCSB Middle East Ensemble, where we played piano and keyboard. So that may have been a factor too. I wrote two movements for this piece. The first movement is written for solo piano. And my intention there was, usually when one reflects on their memories, it's more subdued and like withdrawn and pensive and maybe even sadder. So it's not the happiest. And then with the second movement, which actually we kind of both arranged, because it's four hands actually. So with that one, my intention was maybe a little bit more uplifting, happier, because usually when we share memories with others or in a group, they tend to be more happy and happier memories and more uplifting experiences. So with that said, yeah, hope you enjoy it.
We're ready to hear Zeyn and Rhyan. Schweyk. There, I have to unmute myself. Unmute myself. There, okay. Zeyn and Rhyan, that was fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I was noticing in all of your notes how much you do. It's amazing how much you get out and do. You support good causes around town. You've done things like the Carpinteria Rotary, Pianos on State. And for those of you who don't live in Santa Barbara, we have this annual pianos placed all along State Street, and people are just invited to sit down and play the piano. And they had to do that online this year too. So the Santa Barbara Piano Boys were featured on a live stream thing, and you've also played for the Anti-Defamation League's Concert Against Hate. Can you say just a short little couple sentences about that?
Sure, yeah. Since the pandemic started, we've been playing for all these online organizations and for great causes. For the, I guess that was just one of the many we played for. For that, we played a Schubert duet.
Yeah, it was really fun. And it was fun watching the live stream as well. And it's always great playing for many organizations like that one. And I mean, Pangea's Playhouse as well. We're just so honored to be here. And we just love to share our music with the community in any way, shape or form. So we love doing this, and whichever way we can spread our love for classical music to our whole community, and especially the youth as well, to introduce them to classical music and hopefully allow them to pick up an instrument. That's really our goal.
Well, we're glad you like doing that, because we love having you in our community, and I wish you the best of luck and success in all that you do. And I just want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. I want to thank all of my guests for being here. Without you, this show wouldn't have happened. And I want to just share one little short song that has always meant something to me. In my childhood years, my grandmother, who was Pennsylvania Dutch, I grew up in Pennsylvania, and she was my mom's mom. She had to watch Lawrence Welk every Saturday night. And if we were at the house on Saturdays, which we normally were, we would have to watch it with her because nothing else happened while that was on. And I loved the final song that Lawrence Welk and the gang would always sing. And it goes, "Good night, sleep tight, and pleasant dreams to you. Here's a wish and a prayer. Let every dream come true. And now till we meet again, adios, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. Good night."
Amazing, thank you. So before we say good night, we do want to give a round of applause to all of our performers. So thank you, Deborah, for co-hosting with me. That was such an honor and a pleasure. And similar to what we did at the intermission, we're gonna go back into gallery view. And we ask if you feel comfortable to go ahead and turn on your video. So this is going into gallery view, turning on your video if it's not on, and we will be unmuting everyone so that our performers can give a bow and we can give them a huge round of applause. So again, thank you everybody for coming, and let's go ahead and give a round of applause to our performers.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Good to see everybody.
Thank you so much. It's great.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you Stratus Streaming for helping with our video. Thank you to all the performers. Thank you to our sponsors, and thank you to you, all of our attendees. So have a wonderful night. We'll send out the recording this weekend, and hopefully see you at our next show.
Hey.
Bye.